All right, Chelsea fans, welcome back to another episode. What is this, the 6th episode this week of the London is Blue podcast? I mean, I was talking with someone on Twitter, actually. I was like, you're about to become a daily podcast. And I was like, oh, shit, we might accidentally probably getting close to weekday podcast. So anyways, I hope you're all enjoying it as much as we are. As always, your host, Brandon, joined by Nick and Dan, gentlemen. Nick, I think, outside of, no social life and flexibility at the job, we are not really holding back this season. And we just announced we're going to add even more content with Tweeds, which is apparently 'tis the season for more content.
Yeah, I mean, I honest to God am stunned that so many of you listen to every episode. Not because I don't think we do a good, I think we do a good job. I think it's fun and entertaining. It's just like, you guys are committed, man, because we're throwing everything at you that we got, and Tweeds on top of that. If you're a longtime listener of the show, is going to add even more depth and breadth to our content, and so you're in for a treat. You got Matt Law, you got Naz Kinsella, you got a whole bunch of folks, Dan. I mean, it's a wild year.
Got Phil, also known as Chelsea Youth, going on the academy.
Correct.
We're working on bringing someone in for going way more in depth on the Chelsea women's team. So there's a lot. There's a lot of content there. And look, we have to compete against Mandalorian season 2, The Boys season 2, Borat 2. Like, there's a lot of competition out there for eyeballs and earballs. And
Very
ultimately,
nice.
we are still. God damn it!
I mean,
we are still. I set him up. I had to realize the moment I said Borat, Nick was going to jump in.
Well,
anywho, Brandon, we got a match preview.
I know. I'm going to jump back
in.
So, as you know, it's Friday by the time you're listening to this, which means Chelsea have a match over the weekend. So, we're going to be doing a Burnley match preview, and we'll be talking about Burnley's start to the season, see how terrible they are. Lampard's info, what to expect from the side, right? So, based on what he said at the presser, what can we take and read out of that? And then predictions on the starting 11s and score lines, and 3 reasons why, which I'm glad my invention is back and kicking. I feel like it was is missed. So as we go into this right away, looking at Burnley, they've had what you might call a shocking start to the season, Daniel. They lost to Spurs, right, which you'd probably expect. Then they've moving back in the season, drew a West Brom, which, by the way, really tough team, that West Brom. They're really coming on strong this season. Then they lost 3-1 to Newcastle. They lost 1-0 to Southampton, and they've lost back at the end of September 4-2 to Leicester. So just overall, it's not been great, Dan.
Well, it's the absolute opposite of a side that at one point last season was in the proximity of European places. Was looking at hey, we're a mid-table club that's potentially going to be in the top 10, top 8, and maybe try to do something here. Sean Dyche has always been a bit of a pragmatist at heart and manages a side that is quite compact, definitely likes to grind out results. And this start to the season, they have had some injuries to players like Ben Mee, who's been a stalwart in their back line for multiple seasons. That definitely doesn't make his job any easier. But when you think about it, they have one of the best goalkeepers from last season in the league, in Nick Pope, who kept them in a lot of games last season. And this start, Nick, has not been sharp at all. It's been very, very flat.
Sean Dyche makes Steve Bruce look like Pep Guardiola in tactical formation. I mean, it is, this is your classic Route 1, defend like your life depended on it, nasty challenges all over the field team. This is who they are. This is who they've been. In some Premier League seasons, it's been to their extreme credit because, it's like in college football when you play a team that runs the option and you haven't seen the option because you're used to, teams spreading it out over the field. You're not used to it. But in this Premier League, I think they're going to struggle. The offenses this season are scoring at such a high rate that even their best defensive effort, Brandon, it seems to be falling short. And I mean, certainly losing 1-0 to Spurs is not a discredit to them. Spurs are playing pretty well at this point of the season, but They can't really score either, which is a problem. And so, you look at the results and it's like, man, they're negative goal diff. They haven't won. They have 1 point on the season, I think. Tough.
So they are 0.6 goals scored per match, 1.8 conceded. So that's a negative equation, recipe for relegation, actually. To your point, they have a single point they drew against West Brom, like we'd mentioned. So from their statistical standpoint, not great. They only have 1 clean sheet. We, the mighty Clean Sheet FC, have 2. Okay.
In your face, Burnley.
So
Wow.
A lot of catching up to do there. Look, what's weird though is they're creating 0.8 chances per match. We're creating 0.67. So let's see how it goes. But I'm not that worried, which is probably why we're going to make some overstatements, play on Saturday, have some interesting things to talk about on Sunday. But I know they're down by West Brom in the table. You can't imagine a repeat of that happening, especially with Chelsea coming off of 3 clean sheets and some positive draws. It just comes back to, again, of squad rotation, lineup, how it's going to go. Thankfully, Lampard said we have, Kepa injured? Everyone else is healthy. Maybe not 100%. People are tired. But Burnley, they have 5 injuries. So Johan Berg Gudmundsson just hit the treatment table. But then they've got Phil Bardsley, Eric Peters, Ben Mee, Jack Cork, all out as well. So again, it just helps us, right? We were already deeper than them, but the more changes they have to make and the more they have to kind of dig into their bench, it's just better for us. And look, I'm sure you guys remember the 3-0 win at Burnley August 29th of 2009, or maybe the epic 2-3 loss on 12th of August 2017. Overwhelmingly, we have a really good record against Burnley, which honestly would make you feel good about going into this, Nick. But overall going into this it just seems too easy for us to walk into this and be like, yeah, we're gonna win 4-1. It's gonna be great. We're gonna roll them. Surely knowing Sean Dyche is the manager means they're going to be hard to beat. That is literally what he has built his resume on. It's not pretty. It's just effective.
Yeah, I mean, one of 2 things will be true, right? Either they're going to continue their terrible form or they're due. And I don't know which one it is. Like, I think that's the catch. In the Premier League, especially with Chelsea having played midweek in the Champions League, and clearly Burnley are not a Champions League level side, they'll be more rested coming into this. Now, obviously, they're more injured, so that, +1, -1. But I think, Dan, when you look back at last year's performances, I think one of the consistent facets of our 7-2 victory on aggregate with them, we overwhelmed the midfield and we pressed their defenders. And we'll get into why and what we predict happening in a minute, but those were the 2 qualities that I remember distinctly. And Pulisic's goals, 2 of them came on turnovers and pressing in the midfield. So, that seems to me like the recipe if you're going to beat him.
Well, it just takes advantage of what we've actually built upon in this season. Think about the fact that attackers last season included Willian, included Pedro, included, to his credit, Tammy I think very exceptional last season. 18 goals. This is a side that can be got at very clearly. I think the way that Leicester plays, even the way that Spurs play right now, show you that there's an easy kind of path forward here if you're willing to take the attack to them, and especially with not having their first choice center back pairing available, makes it even more of a remit for Frank to just tell the attackers to try and shred, try to blow by him, try to find the ball that's going to kind of potentially go over the top and play you in, versus trying to be really cute about it in the midfield. Like, we just need to be very fast and efficient in our execution.
Well, I tell you what, they are going to sit back, defend deep. I can't imagine anything else other than that. There's a chance maybe that they come out and try to press, but I don't know why. Why would you do such a thing when a 0-0 draw for you is essentially a victory? And I think that's what they're going to set up for. They're going to set up for going for a point and trying to get out of it. So, okay, Lampard's press conference. I love it when it's on a Thursday because it actually gives us a chance to react to it versus us making some wild predictions on a Thursday night and Lampard comes out and nixes everything on a Friday. So played into our hand. Appreciate you, Lamps. So, he said a few different things. I'm going to pick one out, and I'll let you guys kind of pick one as well. And I think that we can just go from there. So, look, I'm gonna take the easy one, right? Lampard on the 4-3-3 versus the 4-2-3-1. The hot topic. He said, quote, "It is something that has served us well at times last year. We changed at times last year with 3 at the back and 4-2-3-1. When you bring players with versatility in the game, then you're trying to find balance to bring the best out of the players," end quote. Politician answer? My gosh. Like, thanks. Or maybe he's being strategic. I might play 3 at the back. I might play 4 at the back. I might play with 11 players. You just never know. Like, come on, man.
That answer is saying it's a lot of words without saying a lot right there.
Honestly. Like, we just want him to be like, and he doesn't want to give away his hand, and I get that, but like, privately, him, Jody, Joe, they got to be having this conversation. Like, the tactics boards better be set up with a frickin' 4-3-3 going into this one. And like, plan B should really be about a 3-5-2 if like all hell breaks loose and we got to attack with 6 at the end. So, look, if it's not a 4-3-3, Dan, tendering my resignation.
Wow. Okay, we need to clip that one out, Jake.
I didn't say what to. I could be resigning from anything.
Resigning from, I don't know. We'll have to figure out what that is. Please fill in the blank. Tweet at us. What will Brandon be resigning from if he gets that incorrect? You're right. It needs to be a 4-3-3. It needs to be building upon what we saw at the end of the Krasnodar match.
Krasnodar.
And it's just good stuff going on there. I think the one thing that he did call out that was not a surprise in the press conference was that Silva is fit, that he is being, a level of maintenance is being applied by Frank and the team to make sure that he stays fresh from a rotation standpoint, which A+, because there have been periods under Frank, in addition to other Chelsea managers, where players have been played into the absolute ground and churned into dust. That is not going to happen with Thiago Silva, thankfully, and him back in the lineup, I think, is a really nice addition there, Nick. That was probably the one that stood out to me the most.
Yeah, and Silva shouldn't be the only one on that list. He's certainly a different case, but I think for anyone, N'Golo Kante or anyone who's had an injury history, you got to be really, really careful. The season's going to be bonkers. I've said it a billion times. There should be tactical rest given to players like your Mason Mounts or like your N'Golo Kantes or Ben Chilwell, who went through some injury stuff last year. Don't overuse them right now. We got a long season ahead of us. So, yeah, I thought that was good. The one I'll pull out is kind of a weird one, and it's around Christian Pulisic. So Jesse Marsch of RB Salzburg in Austria, American coach, obviously, has done a really great job down at Salzburg, and commented something, and I'm paraphrasing here, essentially that Frank Lampard was skeptical of Christian Pulisic because he was an American player, which, I think honestly it was Jesse putting his foot in his mouth a little bit, to be fair. But I think Jesse, as a former U.S. men's national team player and obviously a proud American coach in Europe, is probably just sticking up for his guy more than anything else. And so Frank came out today and put that right. I mean, he was asked by a journalist at the press conference, if Marsch was right or if there was any sort of bias there, and he said, "I never doubted Pulisic," and he points to his time in the USA where he, met a lot of great American players, blah 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 blah. But at the end of that, he's like, I don't really even have to say this for anybody else, but I want to say it out loud for Christian because he needs to know out in the press that I have always believed in him. It's a completely unnecessary thing that happened from Jesse Marsch. And frankly, as a fan of the U.S. men's national team, as hard as that is right now, I I understand that there's anti-American bias out there. As an American, I get it, especially for players and coaches alike. But this didn't really do anyone any favors. So I think let's be smart about how we address these issues moving forward.
I mean, Weston McKennie's doing well, so
there's tons of great American coaches and players in Europe right now.
Yeah.
It's probably the best ever that we've had. So let's just
shout out to Cal on the Discord. We have a U.S. men's national team thread there, and he put together, I think, a domestic lineup and an international lineup as far as like where they play in their leagues. And it was really cool to see, and obviously it spurred a longer conversation. But again, we won't get into that now, but maybe that's just a sample of what goes on in the Discord. A lot of really cool stuff talked about outside of the Chelsea realm, but that's pretty cool. So should we do some predictions?
Yeah, why not?
We're so great at them.
Go so well.
All right.
We got called out by multiple people going, haha, it's hilarious how wrong you are.
I know.
And it is.
Look, I don't do it for me, people of social media. We do it for you. All right, we do it.
That's good. It's a thought exercise. That's really what it is. We're trying to stretch our brains a little bit, make sure that gray matter stays, well worked, so that we don't get addled in our old ages.
The other thing is there's two ways to approach a starting lineup too. What do you want, and what do you think is actually going to happen? So
Correct.
like there's two ways to kind of approach it. So technically, if I predict it wrong but we lose, was I really wrong, or was I right? So anyways,
the tree falls in the forest. ...
So starting 11, let's predict the Burnley lineup, shall we?
No.
Nope, just kidding. All right, Chelsea it is. Let's go with Nick first, because I think, there'll be plenty to chit chat about.
And Nick was first in the script. Bam. Mendy in goal. Perma starter.
Big call.
Look, man. At least I'm going to get that one right. Please don't get hurt between now and then. Please don't get hurt. Reece James, Thiago Silva, Kurt Zuma, Ben Chilwell. Seems like the first choice starting back four at this point. So, cool. A 3 in midfield, alert. A 3 in midfield, N'Golo Kante, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz. Essentially, N'Golo Kante and 2 8s deployed. Go forth. Mason Mount there to help win the ball at field. Kai Havertz there to do Kai Havertz things. And then a front 3 of Christian Pulisic, hat-trick hero last year against Burnley. Timo Werner and Callum Hudson-Odoi on the right. I think Cal gets his second start in a row. I do not believe that Ziyech will feature twice in the same week for a little while, just knowing that he came off injury. So that's my lineup.
All right, well, I think Zuma's going to get a break. But Dan, you don't. You have almost the exact same lineup, which I think Nixon throws shade at you because he said he put his in first. So was this like, oh, I got to change one just to be different type of thing? So like I didn't plagiarize, teacher?
Yeah, Dan just had to get like 3 answers wrong after my perfect test.
Use the same bar and everything. Like it looks like you copied and pasted it and then just deleted the last name.
Oh, well, that's why you write in pencil and then overwrite in ink. Anyway, I think the only change that actually I would make from Nick's lineup is I do think Ziyech gets the start. I think Frank is going to want to try from the thought process of Frank is going to want to try to build on getting this team gelled, getting the players who he's going to want to have play together most regularly the opportunity to connect with one another on the pitch. It's not because I actually see 100% the merit that you're saying with Callum coming in, with Ziyech making sure that his fitness is maintained appropriately. I 100% actually, that makes super logical sense. And I totally could see Nick's lineup happening. I could see my lineup happening in the realm of trying to get them to gel. I just can't see Brandon's lineup happening. So, I mean, really, I think Nick wins, I win, and Brandon is somewhere else.
I was super tempted, Brandon, to put Tammy as my striker here. Only because Werner started so many in a row. Yeah. And we have a big one coming up midweek. So.
Yeah, and that's part of it. It's just like.
When do you rest him?
Do you try to get some early subs in? But it's like, well, you kind of got to earn it at, some point. There's not, we didn't talk about that quote, but Lampard's like, yeah, man, it's like, thank gosh we at least have 5 subs in the Champions League. He's like, I'm using all of them anytime I can, just to get, even if you get someone a 20-minute rest or whatever it may be, it goes a long way. So I have Bendy Mendy in goal. I got Reece James because Aspi played last match. I got Thiago Silva because maintenance is completed, ready to go. I put Fick in there. So here's the thought. I think Zuma's played a lot of minutes. You got to rest him. And it can't be Rudiger. He just played. He hasn't played at all this season, so he can't go 2 in a row. And then it's like, I don't want to see Christensen. So I'm going to throw one in there and see if Fikayo Tomori can get some minutes. I think Burnley is a good match for him to go into as well. We're going to have the majority of the possession. He's going to be able to be on the ball a good amount, and and we'll see. So I'm going to admit that's a bit of a punt, but
I hope
there's
you're
my
right.
reason why.
That would be rad.
Chilwell, again, he's played a lot of minutes, but it's like, well, you're not going to put in Alonso, are you, for this one? So I'm just waiting to see when he gets a rest, or how deep is his battery. We'll have to wait and see. N'Golo Kante, Kai Havertz, and Mount, I think we all want to see that midfield again, just wreck. Pulisic, he's hopefully Burnley's his bogey team. He's very direct. We saw him go at the defenders and get in behind them many times. So hopefully he can continue to do that threat. Again, Timo Werner, I understand the fact him, right? Zuma, Chilwell, ton of minutes lately. Even Kai Havertz has had a ton of minutes. I'm going to keep him in there until we get a glimpse that he's not ready to go. And then I did put Ziyech as well, but maybe for another reason rather than avoiding plagiarism. His left foot, we talked about it in the match review, is so good. If Burnley are going to sit deep, you need another option. And if they're sitting deep, you don't really need pace to get in behind. You need someone who can unlock it, have that creativity. If he can hit kind of a 1-2 at the top of the box and hit that Arjen Robben type curler to the far post, a threat from out wide, I just think it's going to be a different option that hopefully can kind of unlock that Burnley defense if needed. So at least that's kind of where my thought is at on some of the personnel decisions.
Well, and I think the thing to keep in mind is, Frank, with this whole kind of comment around formations, with talking about the 4-2-3-1, this game is not made for that formation. For teams that are going to sit back, you need players that are going to be able to probe in, players that are going to be able to play quick and fast passes. And I think what we saw, particularly with the triangles that were forming between Zuma, Kovacic, and Jorginho in the last game, it would not work. Krasnodar is going to, and Burnley are actually not a bad comparison match for the type of football that they're going to want to play and how they're going to try to find us out. And so just copy and paste what worked. It was the last 29 minutes. And so a 4-3-3 is going to give you the space you're looking for to try to find some goodness against a team that, as you like to talk about the block 9 there, Nick, just everybody kind of sitting back behind the ball and just allowing them to come at them, trying to win on a counter or win off a set piece. You have to be willing to kind of commit to attack.
Yeah, I mean, you need to win the midfield and control the ball. And if you have a Zuma or a Fikayo Tomori back there, if Burnley are lucky enough to hit, kind of a Route 1 type of ball, you're going to have cover back there that's quick enough to get back. Because I think the only thing that scares me right now about this game is it's one of those classic Chelsea have 74% of possession. We basically park our line at midfield, our back line at midfield, and we're just kind of zipping it around. And unfortunately, we're not yet good enough in tight spaces for that to be lethal. For a lot of your Barcelonas of the world or your Liverpools of the world, they're going to find that little pocket of space to do the damage. I don't think we're quite there yet. So what I would like to see is a little bit more balance. We let them come onto us every once in a while just because they're not really a threat. And then we're able to get in behind them, because I think they're gonna set up pretty defensively.
Yeah, I mean, again, they would love to double their entire tally of points this season from 1 to 2. That would be a massive result for them. Mm-hmm. I guess as a part of that, we can talk about maybe some players that we're quote unquote afraid of, aka threats from Burnley, which I think this is hilarious, Dan, that you think their biggest threat is their goalkeeper. Clearly, you're not looking at it from an offensive threat. You're like, oh, Burnley's biggest threat is defensively.
Look, if you're going to make it difficult to pull shots off on, you're going to have to convert with maybe the limited opportunities we do get. Let's say you get into this game and we get 6 shots, 7 shots, 8 shots, 3 shots, 4 shots on target. You need a conversion rate that's going to be pretty strong against that. And Nick Pope was able to stand up in several games last season, double-digit clean sheets in the Premier League last year. Yeah, I totally think he's the player that I would be most afraid of, because I think that Burnley are going to make it difficult to get off a shot, and so we have to convert the ones that we get. Absolutely.
Okay, well, Nick, you and I have some agreement here in one turd sandwich known as a striker for Burnley.
Yep, a bastard-coated bastard with bastard filling, Ashley Barnes.
Ugh.
Not a guy that I love. In fact, you could say the opposite. He almost broke Nemanja Matic's leg. Let's not forget. He's I think made up of 99% shithousery. But I will say this about him: he's a battler. So Thiago Silva and whoever the partner is, I think
Tomori,
Zuma, most likely. They're gonna have to be ready for a fight. I mean, he has a fist fight in a person. So I think
he runs with his fists clenched.
Fist fight in a person.
I just don't. I don't think he's very good, which is beneficial to us. But I do think that if there is a little deflection or a poach opportunity for him, he's the type of guy that can put that in and really change the game. So I'm not afraid of him for his talent. I'm more afraid of him for possibly breaking one of our players' legs and or getting one of our players sent off because they overreact to him.
This is going to be an elbows and shins kind of game.
Yes.
There is going to be a lot of shithousery that takes place. And look, it's their MO, right? And I think this is an opportunity with some of the players we got in. I'm actually looking forward. Maybe Kai Havertz gets a little bit of dark arts going on. Ben Chilwell has played against Burnley before multiple times. He knows what to expect. Zuma definitely likes to body people up. I'm okay with Mendy just absolutely throwing some punches. And, he hits the ball, but maybe he knocks somebody else too. I don't know. Could happen.
Thankfully, you don't know, Dan. My gosh. 2 things, though. I am trying to come up with what a sketch artist rendition of Ashley Barnes is based off all of Nick's descriptions of him back then. Because they were elaborate. They were very descriptive. Like bastard-coated bastard with bastard filling, walking fist fight, like just all these things.
It's like a donut that's shitting out turd with big old hands.
Yeah. Anyways, I was distracted by that. But then the other thing is, you guys talk about this, but they're kind of toothless this season. That was their MO, but it hasn't come off this season. They're actually I have not watched them, obviously, but I'm just based off of the results and the things we've read. They look terrible this season. Like the normal bite and the fight and the typical Burnley backs against the wall. It's not happening for some reason this season. And so again, they've had a week to prepare, right? Chelsea traveled to Russia and back, which is not nothing. Okay. So, again, you would still think that we should be able to go take on a toothless Burnley, but it's one of those things you just have to say, look, there's every opportunity that they surprise us. But man, that would be a tough pill to swallow if we had to take on a Burnley side with 1 point all season and not get out of there with 3 points.
I did watch their match against Newcastle because I was incredibly bored on a Saturday at 2 p.m. Central.
It's probably one of the featured games too, not even on Peacock, because that's the way that season's going.
Yeah. They were dominated for 70 minutes of the game, but they did have a period in the second half where they flipped it on and took the game to Newcastle, actually equalized before Newcastle got 2 late goals. So it is not as if they are, a championship side that's come up and, have no clue how to play. I mean, they're going to pose some threat. I don't think it'll be a very big threat, but they can turn it on for little blips. I will say that.
Well, so their match against Spurs, just as maybe a comparison standpoint, so they only had about 38% of the ball. They had 4 shots on target. They had 13 total shots. They had 15 tackles, 16 clearances, 4 corners, 4 offsides, 2 yellow cards, and 9 fouls conceded. So I do think the news of a toothless, I think toothless is probably the wrong word. Maybe they're a little muted at the moment because they're not being on the ball.
That's what I said.
But they're still conceding fouls. They're still getting yellow cards. So yeah, it's going to be tough and tumble.
Tough and tumble. Is that the setting you put on your dryer?
Yeah, throw some rocks in there, let it bounce around.
So I forget how far the trip was to Russia. Obviously, it was a long flight.
5 hours.
Okay. So they have a 4.5-hour bus ride now to Burnley. There was no turnaround time for this match. You get back the wee hours of the morning to essentially today, Thursday, probably didn't train, got some sleep, did some recovery, got on the bus and traveled to Burnley Friday. When you're listening to this, there was no time, okay, in between these matches. It's all going to be film and recovery. So again, just keeping that in perspective. I know Jurgen Klopp just came out and is slamming the Premier League for all the teams playing twice a week in December, but it's you knew that coming into it, but they have every right to complain about it. And it's if the Premier League has a lot to balance, it's a condensed season. This is kind of the situation. Chilwell, Zuma, Havertz, these guys probably aren't training much. They're really just doing a lot of recovery, making sure they're able to get ready for the next match because it's only 1 to 2 days away every single time. So that massive fatigue could be an issue, and it might actually be nice to have an international break if we didn't have to send all of our players. So all right, 3 reasons why Chelsea will win, and then 3 reasons why Chelsea might drop points with a loss or a draw. So starting off with a little bit of positivity, I said attack. We should just go at them, right? If we just continue to just wave after wave after wave, I don't see this Burnley team being able to hold up to it. So I just think we should, put pedal to the floor from the beginning and just attack the hell out of them. Dan, your reason why?
4-3-3. I think we all have something similar, but it's allowing, I guess if I were going to go deeper, it's just putting the lineup together that gives us the best opportunity for success. It's don't play the pivot. Don't try to be cute about it. Go at them, like you said, Brandon, and just make life difficult. And I think Nick, you're pretty much the same in the same place.
Yeah, balance for me. I mean, the 4-3-3 provides this balance. It provides a strong midfield. It provides cover for our wingers if they want to get upfield, or even our fullbacks. Let's not forget, our fullbacks are quite adventurous as well. And having Mason Mount in there with his exponential effort and chasing and pressing, along with Kai Havertz's silky smooth skills, to me, it's just going to be hard for Burnley to keep up with those two, let alone having someone like Werner playing off a shoulder and getting in behind. I mean, Burnley are not a fast team. Werner is going to be a shock to their system, I think. And adding Pulisic, adding Callum, we should be able to get behind them if we have a balanced approach to this game. If we live in their final third and they never get out of it, it's going to be really hard to score.
All right. Well, if we were to play devil's advocate on ourselves a little bit, a reason why Chelsea could lose or draw at Turf Moor, I'm I'm actually probably going to change mine based on what I just said a little bit ago. But Dan will start at the top of the running order.
Set piece gaffes. I don't think we will give them the luxury of many good opportunities on goal. And so whether it's confusion, whether it's someone mistimes a jump, mistimes a tackle, I mean, I think Mendy gives me so much more comfort being in the back there. But, I mean, look, they'll take advantage of the opportunities they get. And dead ball situations near or around the final third are going to be some of their best opportunities to score against us. So, yeah, anytime they get a set piece, I will be nervous as hell.
All right. Nick, down to you.
I think it's a lack of concentration. I mean, I say this for a couple of reasons. One, if you remember our matchup there last year, Chelsea were 4-0 up, cruising, and let in 2 late goals that were completely stupid. So it can happen. Second reason would be when you're living in the opponent's final third, it's kind of easy to switch off on the transition, right? So my hope is that everyone stays super locked in. I think Thiago Silva and Mendy help that, obviously. So I'm not as worried about that as I normally would be. But I think Chelsea have all the ingredients, all the tools to win this game comfortably. If they stay, if they have really good concentration and they're clinical, it should be a walk in the park. If they don't, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't even remember what I had before, but I did change it to fatigue/travel, just being leggy, playing at 70%. They may be physically recovered, but maybe they're not mentally recovered. The quick turnaround, did they have enough time to prepare against Burnley? Do they have a good understanding of the way they play? Do they have a good understanding of the set pieces? So that, to me, I think that's what I'm most worried about, which is, again, it's a Chelsea thing. Like, none of us are worried about what Burnley can do. We're all worried about what Chelsea do. And from the sounds of it, it's down to Chelsea to get all 3 points. And if we don't think it's because Burnley earned it. Sometimes the pundits be like, well, credit to Burnley. We're not thinking that way, all right? And we're also very Chelsea-centric, so we're like, okay, they're not better than us, so the only way they can beat us is if we beat ourselves. So, take that for what it's worth. Maybe we're too focused on Chelsea, but please tweet at me and let me know where we're missing Burnley being this wonderful football team.
Oh, they will.
Sitting in 18th place with 1 point, no wins.
We're not a half and half scarf podcast, okay?
Correct.
We're not.
Shout out to Gary Hayes because he has some cool ones from the Europa League. Anyways, so wrapping this episode up with some score predictions, the cherry on top. Who wants to go first? Who wants to throw their name out there and start it off? Dan's bursting at the seams. Oh my gosh.
Well, I think we will continue the run of form with clean sheets and make this a trend. We are going to run it back and we're going to win 2-0 over Burnley.
Okay.
Nick's, for those not watching, Nick's eyeballs went wide. You could see more white in them than anything else. And his, wow, yeah, that's a shocked face if I've ever seen one.
Okay, so
I'll go with a 2-1 Chelsea win. I think it'll be tough. I could see a little bit of Burnley desperation. They got to get some points on the board. Otherwise, it's going to be a tough go for them. I do see Chelsea eking it out. I do see a Pulisic winner.
Ooh.
Wearing him on my hat.
Calling his shot.
He's right there. Look at him. Look at that guy. Unbelievable.
Okay. I'm going to go 3-1. I don't think the clean sheet will stick, but again, with all the fatigue and everything we kind of talked about, I would trade a goal for 3 points. All right. Throughout this time, we've had a few draws lately. Obviously, we beat Krasnodar, but duh. No offense. Duh. So, again, I will trade a goal if we can get all 3 points. And, look, the Premier League table is getting busy, All right. We need to stay around the top as best we can. It's wild right now. We're down to 10th. We were at 6th at our last match review. And since then, games that were played after we played, we're down to 10th again. But of course, we're only 3 points away from being in 3rd, right? So that's just how tight the table is still early in the season. We got to stay in and around 1 to 2 points off the top 4. We need to get some goal difference in there. We're at +4. We should be pushing closer to +10 to really make a statement. And this is an opportunity Chelsea have. To your point, Nick, no rest, no sleep for the wicked. We got to turn around and play another one, the following week. So again, it's like, can these guys focus on one match at a time and not get caught up on the kind of the relentless surge that we're being stuck with right now? So we'll have to see.
Gotta have this one. I mean,
well, and to that point, just when you look at the other fixtures that are going on this weekend, you have Liverpool playing a resilient West Ham, who will definitely give them the business. I think you also have Man United versus Arsenal. That could be a big game later on the season if one of those two teams is the one that drops points. Leeds, who've been surging, are playing a Leicester team that also is looking like they're finding some footing too. And yeah, I mean, so there's plenty of matches here that are going to start to shift and might give us a little bit of breathing room if we can take advantage of a win this weekend.
Yeah, interesting set of results fixtures for the weekend. So we'll have to wait and see how all this stuff kind of shakes out. But I think we're all in agreement that huge 3 points on the line for us. Got to go get it. Wolves Crystal Palace kick it off on Friday, so it should be somewhat entertaining. And then obviously Saturday we're after Sheffield and Man City. So 10 a.m. kickoff East Coast time for you in the U.S. That would make it 9 and 7 a.m. for the rest of us across the country. Not bad, Dan, huh? You probably enjoy a 7 a.m. kickoff these days.
It's much better than the 4 a.m. or 4:30s, but they're also the people who have to get up at 2 a.m. So I'm in other parts of the world. So
of course,
I count my blessings where I find them.
Yeah, we can only speak to our personal situation. So all right, that's gonna wrap us up.
You're wrong. You were wrong on time.
What?
The Brits went into daylight savings time last week,
so
you're
right.
It's 10-8. Yeah, it's 11-10-8. Yeah.
Ah, well, there you go, Dan. Even better.
8 o'clock for Dan. Look at that.
You can drink at 8. It's not socially frowned upon. At 7, it is, though. I mean,
yeah, it's a hard cutoff.
Brandon Busby's rules to live by.
All right, Chelsea fans, that's going to wrap us up. Up the Blues on Saturday. All right, hope you can engage with some fans digitally. Obviously, we have a huge community on our Patreon that do wonders come match day in the Discord. Obviously, you can try to connect with us on social media as well. Dan will be tweeting up a storm like always. But we'll be back after that on Monday with the match review. So look forward to that. So that's going to wrap us up. So you know what to do, Chelsea fans. Let me see. Until next time. I don't even know. It's the 42nd episode.
Oh my gosh.
I'm bundling this is what I get for having too many episodes in 1 week. So, all right, Chelsea fans. I can't even remember. I've completely forgotten.
You know what to do.
Someone else take me out.
You know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.